CEO of the C-Suite for Christ movement. Boy, howdy, it's a blessing to have you join us, especially today on this day before Turkey Day. And if I start rambling and talking all over the place, it's probably because there's no glucose in my brain. I'm trying to do like a fast before Thanksgiving just so I can be a gluttonous pig tomorrow and not have to be overly feel bad about it. But it's a blessing to have you. I pray you're having a wonderful week and getting ready for one of my favorite holidays, obviously Thanksgiving. We got a lot to be thankful for here at the C-Suite for Christ movement, the growth of the organization, working with executives all over the world to start bringing Christ into the workplace, which is what we're all about. But also blessed to have you join us. And our guest today for Bold for Him Live, we're joined by my good friend, Marques Ogden. In case you've been living under a rock, over the past couple of years. Marques is a former NFL player. He's one of the most in-demand keynote speakers on the planet. I think he was named, I can't keep up with all of his awards and accolades, named like top 50 speaker or something like that. But the guy's amazing. He's living boldly for Christ. And we're going to have a powerful conversation with him today. So, Brother Marques, it is wonderful to have you, sir.
How are you, Paul? Thank you for having me on, my friend.
I am doing well. So, are you getting prepared for the NFL bonanza tomorrow? Like, are you planning when you're going to eat turkey versus which games you're going to watch?
Of course. I mean, because, with all these games, I think there's three games tomorrow, and I can get turkey during the first couple of games. I can save a little bit for at night with the Bears-Eagles game. Yeah, life is good. So, very excited to, have that come about, and I'm excited for football coming around the corner.
Absolutely. I was just telling Marcus before he went live with some of these head coaches on the hot seat. I'm waiting for him to get the call from one of these general managers to lead the team. If so, if you need like an advanced scout or something, I'll volunteer for that job, buddy.
Come on, you follow me along, Paul. Come on down, I'll get you signed up. You can start hitting the pavement, get it going.
Awesome. That's great. Well, speaking of getting it going, it's wonderful to be talking to you, Marcus, today for Bold for Him Live. For those of you that are joining us, two just real quick housekeeping things, and then we're going to get going. One, if you're relatively new to this program, welcome. It's a blessing to have you. Bold for Him Live is our weekly live show that we do on our YouTube channel. This is a way for us to interact with you. We have a guest every single week. We don't mess around. We do bold and unapologetically Christian topics. So go ahead and mark your calendar every Wednesday at noon Central. If there's something that comes up down the road, we'll let you know well in advance. But the other thing is, too, is Marcus and I get ready for this conversation. This is designed to be very engaging. It's not just going to be the two of us. We want you to weigh in. We want you to ask questions. We want you to challenge us if you think what we're saying doesn't make a lot of sense. But we're doing this to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to be little keyboard warriors and get ready to go because we want to hear from you. So, Marcus, to get us going, for those of you that aren't, for those people that aren't maybe overly familiar with you like I am, would you mind telling us a little bit about your story? I mean, it's one of the more powerful stories I've been around. How you go from this successful NFL career to
Mm-hmm.
eating out of dumpsters, and how
Mm-hmm.
God kind of found you in your mess, so to speak. Would you mind starting by sharing that story with us?
Absolutely, Paul. So, Paul, again, I'm from Washington, D.C. I went to Howard University. I was very fortunate. I'm the first, and I'm still the only offensive lineman drafted into the National Football League from Howard University. I was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and my head coach was Jack Del Rio. Great information, great experience, great knowledge that Jack shared with us to be successful in life, be your own CEO. And I took that and I really live by that now, Paul. I got away from it, unfortunately, when I lost my business. But when I got my life back on track after God had a real heart to heart with me in 2013, I got that back as the foundation of my life. So I had a great career in the NFL, played almost 6 years. Unfortunately, when I got out, Paul, I struggled with addiction, painkillers. I didn't have a direction, no purpose. I had lost Christ because our father passed away unexpectedly at 57 years of age. I then got my life together, built a successful construction company, multi-million dollar business nationwide, doing phenomenal. But unfortunately, I had developed a massive ego. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared for the success that came my way. It was kind of like a lottery winner. They say the lottery gets a massive windfall of money, not prepared to handle it. They usually lose it. That happened to me, Paul. I built this massive business, lots of money, lots of notoriety, but I wasn't prepared for it, and I went bankrupt. There's a powerful saying in the Bible: God giveth, God taketh away. So I lost everything in 2013. I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. I was $1,550 short, Paul, of next month's rent. I was fired from 2 jobs in the same week. I was just almost homeless. I was bankrupt. I was broke. I was broke in. And what happened is in September 2013, I hit rock bottom as a custodian where someone's trash, rotten meat, nasty, protruding, horrible smelling garbage from a dumpster, right, Paul, got all over me. And that was my wake up call because God at that moment spoke to me. And I talk about this a lot. God told me, Marcus, you're the one that put you here. You turned away from me. You turned away from living a very holistic, godly life. You went more worldly, and you lost sight of how to treat people, how to be humble, and how to show gratitude. So I had to put you here to show you need to change your ways. If you change your ways, you can get your life back. If you don't change your ways, you're going to be right here for the rest of your life. So I made the switch, Paul, and at that time, I got more faith-based again. I got more into being humble, being grateful, started speaking. It was not an easy journey by any means, but now here I am through all the ups, downs, challenges, success, divorce, hard times, all this stuff. Faith and humble and gratitude have been the 3 major pillars. And today, right, Paul, we speak a lot, we coach, we consult, have our own podcast. I'm a contributor on News Nation Live every Friday with Marty Hughes talking football. Life is much better. But again, faith, humility, consistency got me here.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, and praise God it led you to this point. I know a lot of us go through these storms in life. A lot of us go through these very dark valleys, and boy, a lot of us, we just want nothing more than to get out of it. We just want nothing more. Some of us get mad at God. We get angry at God. God, are you listening to me? God, why are you doing this to me? But one of the things that I really believe, Marcus, and I know you do too, just based on that story, God does nothing to us, but instead he does everything for us. So you losing this huge business, he didn't do that to punish you. He did that to get your attention, to humble you, to get you to see, Marcus, I love you so much. I don't want to do this. It's going to pain me to do this, but you've drifted. You've gone away. You're glorifying all these other things. I got to bring you back. Talk to me a little bit about that dynamic, about how God does nothing to us, but everything for us, because I believe when you look at life like that way, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you look at life with a for mentality, now everything, good, bad, or indifferent, becomes an absolute blessing because you know he's doing it to make you a better person.
You know what, Paul? You said something that I felt was so profound, is that I was valuing the wrong things. You are so right. I was valuing money, fame, notoriety, wanting to be the most well known person in Baltimore. I was focusing on all the things that don't matter. And you're absolutely right. I drifted away from God. I became one that had this massive ego where I became a prisoner in my own life. And what happened is, for my own benefit, God said, okay, Marcus, you need to go through this so you can become the best individual, the best man you can be. And you know what, Paul? Without going through that hardship, I'm not the person I am today. I never really liked construction. I like to make money, but I didn't like it. There was no passion. There was no purpose. It was only for me and my benefit. That's all it was. Today, speaking and impacting others and having a podcast, getting to know people like yourself and Michael Price, James Chitwood, Trent Postel, who I know you talk to. These are people that I'm coaching or knowing, and the impact that we're making is so grand. It's so great. And it's for the glory of God, the faith that I believe in. And again, right, I tell people, God did me a huge favor. At the time, did it seem like that? Of course not. Why me? How come me? Poor me? The victim mentality. Well, now I look at it as a victor mentality because without that, right, Paul, my story, my work, my impact, who I am, it wouldn't be as powerful because I wouldn't have a way to relate to people because almost everybody, right, Paul, has been knocked down. Almost everybody has gone through a tough moment. But if you can relate to people with your tough moment, with your rock bottom moment, I feel they're going to connect with you deeper. They're going to hear you clearer. And what happens is, right, Paul, you go from somebody that's talking noise to somebody that's talking in a signal. And a signal is a message that takes you back towards God. That's what I believe in.
Yeah, very well said. And part of the reason I wanted to have you join us for this conversation, in addition to all the things that you've been through, you're on fire for Christ. I mean, you're touching lives every single day, but you've seen a side of life that a very small percentage of the human population has. I mean, drafted in the National Football League, spending multiple years in the NFL, performing at a high level, in the huddle, in the locker room. I mean, NFL fanboys like myself can only dream about seeing that side of life. One of the things that you talked about, and I know this isn't just relegated to professional sports, but ego. Whether you're in a boardroom, whether you're running a family, you're a professional athlete, ego is a massive problem. It pushes God out. It prevents you from surrender. It prevents you from living the kind of life that He wants you to live in the National Football League specifically, because I know obviously you played that for several years. You're still well connected to the NFL from what I can tell. How big of a problem is this idolatry of self in the NFL? I know there's some very bold, outspoken Christians, the guy behind me being one of them, but is idolatry, is ego, the world is all about me? Is that a pretty big problem in the NFL and professional sports overall, would you say?
So, in professional sports, right, Paul, you have to have confidence in yourself at all times. Because if you don't, you're going to get slaughtered out on the field. I don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball, doesn't matter. But sometimes what happens is you go from confident to arrogant or ideology if you are better than other people. Because what happens is you start to believe all the things that you hear about yourself. Oh, you had a great game here. Oh, you did this there. Oh, you're the savior here. Oh, you're this person there. But what happens is I tell athletes, you can't worry about the outside noise, right? Because here's the thing, right, Paul? You can have a phenomenal game, right? One day. You can have a horrible game the next day. And people can go from praising you and singing your glory to saying you're the worst thing on earth. That's the type of mentality. That is the mindset of an athlete you have to be prepared for. So I tell people, don't ever get too high on yourself. Don't ever get too low on yourself, right? Pain is temporary, so is joy and fulfillment. And I tell people, if you end up living and basking in only the highs of your career or your job, your profession, at some point you're going to hit a really bad low. And unfortunately, there was a player that took his life with the Cowboys. I don't know him. I didn't know him at all, other than what I've read. And unfortunately, right, Paul, that's the dark side of this whole me mentality, right? If you're in a player who's not used to all of the stuff you're going to have from like the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the fans. I remember I had some very dark days, right, Paul, as an athlete in the NFL. I had some great days, but I had some real dark days too. And so there's times I was like idolizing myself, and times I'm like, man, I suck. So again, I had to learn over time to keep an even keel perspective. And I feel if you're going to be an athlete in today's, especially because Paul, when I was playing, there was no Instagram or TikTok or fans can touch players right through the internet with their words, with how they feel. That wasn't the case back when I played. So today, the climate is different. So yes, there could be a lot of challenges, Paul, around idolizing yourself as an athlete. And I feel if you are one that doesn't know how to stay even keel, right, Paul? You could be too high yourself or too low on yourself. And those are both dangerous places to be.
I would agree, and I think the same is true for us non-athletes. If you're a CEO, if you're running a business, if you're just a everyday, ordinary worker bee, a lot of us get our identity wrapped up in our achievement. So one week you're performing well, great, I'm a somebody. For 3 weeks, you're not doing what you need to do, man, I'm a nobody. And to get your identity wrapped up in achievement, to get your identity wrapped up in what you've accomplished lately is a roller coaster nobody wants to be on. And for us as Christians, our identity isn't in who we are. Our identity isn't in what we accomplish. Our identity is in whose we are and what has been accomplished for us, in particular on that cross in Calvary. So I think that's really good stuff for all of us to keep in mind. What I'd like to do with this next question in particular, I'd love to hear from you. Many of us are sports fans, in particular NFL fans. That's my obsession. That's my passion. So I'm going to ask this question of Marcus, but I'd certainly love to get your thoughts. So feel free to type your answer. Producer John will be sending those over to me. We want to make you a part of this conversation. So Marcus, we talked about idolatry. And it's very easy, even for us believers, even for us Christians, even for us people that have a good relationship with Jesus Christ, to allow these idols into our lives, things that we put first in our life that might replace God, whether it be our jobs, whether it be money, whether it be physical fitness, notoriety. I mean, the list goes on and on. Even if we believe, even if we love God, even if we have a good relationship with Him, many of us let these golden calves into our lives without even realizing that. I think sports is certainly an idol for a lot of people. So, Marcus, why do you think sports have become a national religion, and why do so many Christians worship athletes more than God?
What happens is, Paul, I feel people idolize athletes for their physical gifts and their abilities that they wish that they had. The size, the strength, the stamina, the speed, the endurance, the ability to heal faster, the ability to do things that seem almost unhuman or superhuman, right? Why did we idolize Christopher Reeves as Superman, right? When he had that horrible accident, it was awful, right? The outpour of love is so amazing, but people were stunned, like, oh my God, this is Superman. Like, it's a movie, right, Paul? He was still to us Superman. Like, he was the one that could fly, that could heal, that could shoot lasers. Like, he was for good. So when Christopher Reeve had that horrible accident, and we realized at that moment he was not Superman, he was a man. It's the same thing. People want to be around or know or idolize people, right, Paul, that they feel are superhuman. Like LeBron that can jump 40 plus inches in the air, and he's in his 40s still playing against guys in their 20s, right? Or Ohani from the LA Dodgers who can hit home runs, that can pitch, that can feel. Like, we've never seen a baseball player like this. And I haven't. Tell if you again, pitch, hit, throw. I mean, this guy, was he a 4 time in a row MVP in the Major League Baseball? This guy is a phenomenon, right? Talk about football. Tom Brady when he played, right? So what happens is, Paul, I feel people want to be like those athletes because in reality, unfortunately, something's missing in their life and they want to latch on. They want to follow. They want to idolize someone that is superhuman. Again, I watched that Christopher Reeve documentary. I can't tell you, Paul, how many people were just so stunned, like, oh my God, Superman is not superhuman. He's just like the rest of us.
Which is probably something you encounter every day yourself, Marcus. Wow, Marques Ogden bleeds blood. Wow, that guy's incredible. But yeah, you bring up a good point. And again, for those of you that are watching, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Why do you think so many people idolize athletes? Why do you think so many people idolize professional sports? Marcus, I think you were kind of hitting on it, at least what my answer to that question would be towards the end of your explanation there. Like, it's pretty amazing to see this. So I'm in southeastern Wisconsin. So obviously the Green Bay Packers are a religion to us in this state. The waiting list to get season tickets at Lambeau Field is like 2 generations long. So good luck with that one. But it's amazing to watch some of these Packer fans. I mean, they'll wait in freezing weather for like 2 days to get playoff tickets. They'll go shirtless when it's 20 below. They'll paint their bodies and just, spend thousands and thousands of dollars to outfit their house in Green Bay Packer colors. It's obvious they're going all in. They're passionate. They want to show their love of their team to the world. And sometimes I think, man, imagine if we as Christians had the same passion for Team Christ, had the same fervor for Team Christ, went to the same extremes like Team Christ. I know you can't answer this for everybody, Marcus, but why are some of us willing to pay thousands of dollars for playoff tickets, be outside in the cold for 3 days in a row, bare chested with a giant logo on our shirt, but we can't even start a conversation about Christ? Where's the disconnect, and how do we start having a similar passion for Jesus Christ and Team Christianity?
People have to break out of their comfort zone, Paul, and be willing to have courageous, tough, authentic conversations. A lot of times people don't want to be looked at as the individual that is the outsider, that is the individual that doesn't think like everybody else. Why do so many people follow the herd in life? It's safe. You don't stand out. You blend in. No one's going to say something good, bad, or indifferent about you. They're going to say, oh, you're just part of the herd. That's fine. And again, sports and buying tickets for thousands of dollars and being a diehard fan, that is following the herd. Having conversations about Christ or faith, and a lot of people, it is stepping out of their comfort zone, and they're uncomfortable and they don't want to be seen as a leper or an outsider, so they just go along with everybody else. And I've never been the person, right, Paul, to go along with everybody else, right? Everybody said, Marcus, oh my God, how are you going to be a speaker? You have no expertise in that. You need to go ahead and be a football coach, go coach at Campbell University, get free Waffle House for life as a coach, stay in your lane. Again, right, Paul, everybody wanted me to what? Follow the herd. I said, well, I have bigger plans. God, I really believe, has bigger plans for me. I'm going to go this route. If you don't like it, that's okay. I'm not asking you to support me. I'm not asking you to be a part of what I'm doing. I'm just telling you to respect me and my decision. That's all I ask. If you don't want to support me, that's fine. But again, right, Paul, there were so many people, Paul, trying to tell me, stay in your lane. Stay in the herd and be a football coach and just do that and leave speaking to the professionals. I said, well, how am I going to become a professional if I never start? And so I stepped out of my faith and I stepped out of my comfort zone. I relied on God. I relied on my abilities, my purpose, my passion, my desire. And I started something where almost everybody thought I was crazy. To have these talks about Christianity, faith-based, God, right, Paul? More people, I feel, have to be willing to step out of their comfort zone and potentially be looked at as an outsider. But in reality, a lot of people that are in the herd, they're going to respect you because they have the same feelings. But unfortunately, they're not strong enough to say, you know what? I'm going to make this known as well.
When as tempting as free Waffle House for life must be, I totally understand what you're saying. And yeah, praise God you made the decision that you did. I think you hit a lot of really relevant points. And for those of you that might be multitasking, just for 5 seconds, give me your undivided attention, please. Because one thing you got to know is God never called us to blend in, God called us to stand out. So we got to go outside of our comfort zones. We got to be the lions as opposed to the sheep. There are the vast majority of the human population is sheep, but they're looking for a lion, somebody to lead them, somebody to show the way, and that's what we're called to do with respect to our relationship with Jesus Christ. Marcus, we got a question here for you. Obviously, would love to get your thoughts on this. This one comes from Michael. So, Michael, thank you for weighing in, brother. We really appreciate it. Michael's question is this, Marcus: was faith a common component in the NFL locker room?
That's a great question. The answer is yes, because every team has a chaplain, has someone that leads prayer that guys can go to for assistance. And every Sunday, right, for a game, they used to have chapels. So now again, when I played, we were primarily playing on Sundays and Mondays, right? So Sundays, every team has a chaplain where guys could go and have prayer and worship before the team meal in the morning on Sunday. Absolutely. And then on Mondays, you could have a prayer. It wasn't like, like kind of like a service, more like, like a get together, and you could talk about anything you want to talk about. And it was more like worship, and that's very big. So it was absolutely very, very talked about, very much, applicable and very much welcome in locker room. I'll tell you this, a lot of guys that I played with, a lot are big into faith. Especially a lot of my guys that I played with that are from down south. I played with a lot of guys that were Florida boys, Georgia boys. There's some great football players. And almost all of those guys from the South were so big into faith, God, church. And so, yeah, it was so nice to have. And here's the, and if guys in the locker room did not work like that, they didn't make guys that were faith-based, were Christian-based, feel like an outsider. Because enough of us in there were lying, saying, hey, this is how we feel, this is who we are, and we're going to do this, right? I mean, you see even people, right, Paul? At the end of the games, guys have like kneel and they pray together, or they do like stuff like that. And a lot of guys come together with different from both teams after the game. They pray, guys take a knee. So it's very much respected. And that's why I love the NFL when I played. And that's what guys like about it still now. When you're playing on a team, right, it is a respect thing. It is a culture aspect. If you don't like something someone does, that's okay. But there's no need to bring any extra drama, any extra sense of negativity or dividing because you don't like something somebody's doing. We don't have that in the NFL. And I feel the teams that I know, I've been around that win more games, they just have a stronger culture. So to answer the question, Paul, yes, faith was a big part of our locker room. We had it before games. We had it, if guys want to get together after games. And every guy had access to our team chaplain 24/7. You're having a problem, if you need some type of prayer, assistance, you could call that chaplain. Boom. And actually, Paul, now the retired players chapters have a chaplain because one of my good friends, Corey Smith, is the chaplain for the retired Baltimore Ravens players and community. And he's a phenomenal person of God. He's a total lion about faith, perspective. He's just a great guy.
Well, like I said, you have a very unique perspective, and I certainly appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm sure you saw this. I think it was about a month or so ago, because I know you mentioned being drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, this was Jaguars news. Obviously, they traded up to draft Travis Hunter this year, probably one of the most amazing athletic talents at the NFL in a generation or so. And Travis Hunter made news. I think, again, like a month or so ago, before a game on a Sunday, he got baptized. And again, for us believers, praise God. It's wonderful to see an athlete anybody get baptized, but especially a high profile athlete like Travis Hunter. Now, I don't know Skip Bayless. I don't want to judge Skip Bayless. I know he likes to be the center of attention. I know he likes to say rather controversial things, but he was pretty strong in his belief that Travis Hunter shouldn't have got baptized before a game. He questioned his loyalties. He questioned if he's doing things for the right reasons. There were some other people that didn't seem overly happy that Travis Hunter got baptized on game day. Are you surprised that media and quote unquote sports reporters were as viscerally upset as they were that a prominent athlete got baptized on a game day?
Am I surprised? No. Am I disgusted? Yes. Because here's the thing, what right does Skip Bayless or anybody have to say about what another person does based off their faith, their belief, and what they feel is right? Come on, man. Like, this is the problem. I know you're trying to get ratings. I know you're trying to get people to have eyeballs on your platform. I get all that. But there are ways to do it. If you want to talk about somebody's play, bad, whatever, I don't like that. But that's how you want to do it, that's fine. But when you start crossing over into someone's faith, their religion, their belief, what they want to do with their life, how dare you? And James Harrison said it best. Skip Bayless, and again, I'll paraphrase. Skip Bayless, why are you even bringing this up? Like, how did this even come about, right? James Harrison was very outgoing of his support for Travis Hunter and what he did. And I don't know an athlete that did not support him when he did that. Again, we're the ones playing the games, or we're the ones that played the game, and the guys like Travis are still playing the game, right? It is a violent, it is a very dangerous game. There's no guarantee you're going to walk off that field after a game. You could get hurt. We've seen a lot of players, unfortunately, get paralyzed. You know, the Damar Hamlin, the Damar Hamlin situation. Like, look at this guy. I mean, thank God he's okay, but like, look at that situation. Hasn't that taught us anything? Like, it's no guarantee that you're going to walk off that field after a game on Sunday. So if Travis felt at that moment he wanted to be more connected with God, with faith, with his journey, with his walk, well, good for him. Good for him, because you know what? There may not have been where Travis might have gotten hurt, or who knows, and his life could have changed after the game. So again, if Travis wanted to do that, that's his prerogative, that's his right, and good for him. But again, media's trying to sell stories or ratings. Am I surprised, Paul? No. Am I disgusted? Absolutely I am.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I don't think people listening to this would disagree with what I'm about to say. But if Travis Hunter converted to Judaism, I don't think Skip Bayless would have said anything. If he was converting to Islam, I don't think Skip Bayless would have said anything. It's open season on Christianity. It's when these individuals accept Christ, or when they're baptized, or when they're Tim Tebow. Has there been any NFL player in the history of the NFL who's been criticized for his beliefs more than this guy? Probably not. It's just again, a lot of this media feels it's open season on Christianity. It's the most persecuted religion on earth by far. And I'm glad to see Travis Hunter do this, and I'm glad that you and James Harrison and so many other NFL players and NFL alums were as outspoken as you are, because I think we need that to start turning the tide with respect to Christianity in this country. Marcus, we got a comment here from Joseph. Joseph, thank you for weighing in, brother. Really appreciate it. I'll read this, Marcus, and if you want to add anything else to it, would love to get your thoughts. So Joseph says this: I think we're brainwashed by media and throughout our lives, but no emphasis on abilities to success, on actions, on kindness, love, gentleness, or keep records on our stats on those things. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that, but how big of a role does the media play in all this, per what Joseph just weighed in on?
Paul, one of the most prominent people when it came to like activism and trying to stand up for people, and he changed his views at the end, which I love because he saw the light in a different perspective. Malcolm X. Malcolm X said it best. His quote, and I quote, "The media is the most powerful entity in the world. It could make a guilty man innocent. It could make an innocent man guilty. The media has always had so much power because the media is the way in which most people get their information. And a lot of times people don't fact check something if it comes from the media. And what happens is people get brainwashed and they say, wow, I'm going to act like this. Wow, I'm going to be that. The media says do this. The media says do that. Well, again, what do you say? Right? What do you think? What do you feel? That's being a lion. It is understanding that you have the power to control your own life. And I love what he said about if the world had more empathy, more compassion, more kindness, more humility, more gratitude, it'd be a such more powerful, healthy world. Because again, right, Paul, I always tell people, if you don't want it done to you, then you probably should never do it to anybody else, right? You shouldn't do that. And so again, I was talking about Skip Bayless, like, Skip, we would not, if you wanted to do something with your life, we would be like, oh, what's Skip doing? You know what, Paul? Nobody would care. To be honest, nobody would care. But because he's trying to sell slots, he wants to get out there. He wants to kind of what? Talk negative. And again, unfortunately, what happens, ladies and gentlemen, in the media, a lot of people understand that the mind, the brain, is designed to keep you alive and for survival. And what does the brain feed off of and is nervous about and pays attention to what stay alive? Negativity. Negativity. That's why, Paul, I don't watch news. I don't do media. I'm all about, I'll do things like this. I'll do sports shows, right? I'll be on the media talking about football and News Nation. I love Marnie Hughes, right? But again, right, Paul, I want to have a perspective of where who I am is who I am because of what I feel and how I control my environment, my input, my associations.
Yeah, appreciate you saying that. I think that makes a lot of sense. One of the things, again, you've seen a side of the world that very few of us have ever seen. Obviously, we don't expect you to name names or go into any really deep details on this. But I'd love for you to talk a little bit about one of the ways that Satan takes us hostage, one of the ways that Satan takes us captive, one of the ways that Satan tries to get us off of the path that Jesus Christ has for us, which is temptation, which is trying to lure us by appealing to our flesh. Now, none of us is perfect, but as it says in Scripture, we're supposed to crucify the flesh, lay down our lives, and pick up the cross that Christ has for us. And Satan, if he can't break our relationship with Jesus, he's going to try to do the next best thing, which is to keep us living in sin, keep us going back to behaviors that we shouldn't do, that shackles us to our past, it makes us feel bad about ourselves, that type of thing. Obviously, as professional athletes, there's a lot of temptations that are there, be it money, women, ego, addiction, pride, moral compromise. How serious is that problem really when it comes to professional athletes? And can you walk us through just some of these temptations and attacks that Satan uses to bring as many of these high-profile people down?
Paul, yes. And to answer your question, there's so many temptations in the world by money, women, for athletes, for male athletes, money, women, notoriety, fame. That again, we call that the worldly angle, right? So what happens is I feel there's two types of ethics, okay? You either have personality ethics or you have character ethics. Character ethics, right, Paul? Things of good, more of a godly way, humility, gratitude, virtue, patience, empathy, compassion, right, Paul? And those are the characteristics we should be living by. On the other side, there are the personality ethics, rage, wrath, lust, envy, all these things. And what happens is when you're an athlete, if you don't have a sense of self, of who you are, of being a lion to who you truly are, what happens is you fall victim, you get duped, you fall into traps, and that happens. Okay, perfect example, right? I'm not going to get into maybe that stuff, but there's several athletes who have multiple children by multiple women. Guys are doing it now. Guys did it when I was playing, right? It happens a lot, unfortunately. And I feel what happens is the athletes feel they are quote unquote untouchable, unstoppable, that they can do no wrong, that they're better than everybody else, and they develop that massive ego. And that ego, and I tell people, when you have a massive ego, you become a prisoner to your own life. And what happens is nobody is people who are trying to help you have a massive ego, you're in solitary confinement. And nobody can reach you, nobody can touch you. You're out there on an island by yourself. And what happens is, what does the devil want us to be in? Isolation, darkness. Like that's what those are signs, those are tools, those are weapons that the devil uses. Isolation, darkness, depression. Paul, I was going through those times, darkness, depression. After my divorce, I moved into a very small, dark, depressing, I felt isolated. I felt like a failure. I was always in constant darkness. I truly, Paul, felt like I was detached from the world. And for 2.5 months, Paul, it was a battle every day to get out of bed and be positive and get back to neutral because I was so far in the negative. But what happened is in mid-January 2023, God said to me, Marcus, okay, you've been in darkness for a while now, and now it's time to get up. Now it's time to get into the light. It's time to change your mindset. It's time to stop living for the worldly things, right? Women, alcohol. You got to get out of this, Marcus. You got to stop. And I said, 100% right. And so from that moment, right, Paul, my life changed. I got myself back into more of the godly angles. I focused more on the character ethics. I got myself in a healthier position. I got out of my apartment to places that had light, community, good people. I got myself refocused. And Paul, I was able to do some things for myself with God's help, get a house that had light, that was positive. God took me from that apartment, right, Paul? And he moved me to a development called Serenity. And then, Paul, he took me on from Serenity and he put me, Paul, on Serendipity Drive. True story. So again, right, Paul, what happens is because we're in isolation, usually, Paul, our ego is what starts the whole thing of temptation, alcohol, women as professional male athletes, right? Not all, but I can tell you from my experience, guys that I've known, the ego is that catalyst that gets you going in the wrong direction. So I tell young athletes, always have your ego be smaller than the good part of your soul. We all have an ego part. It's in our DNA, but keep the ego in check. Have the good part of your soul be bigger, be stronger, and be more of the foundation of your life. Never ever let your ego get bigger than the good part of your soul. If you do, you are in big trouble. Because at that point, right, Paul, the devil has his hands on you, and until you break that, it's very hard to get back to the other side.
Yeah, and that is 100% biblical, as it says. I need to be diminished so that he can be exalted. It's hard for us to exalt ourselves while also exalting God at the same time. So it's not just Marques Ogden saying this is wonderful advice as it is. It's 100% biblical. For those of you that are joining us here today, we got about 20 minutes or so left. This is a rare opportunity to have a professional athlete like Marques, especially one who's as bold and unapologetic for Jesus Christ, joining us. So I just want to encourage you, if you got any questions for Marques, please feel free to type them in. If you want to weigh in on anything that we've said up to this point, if you want to agree, if you want to challenge us, please do. We love to be challenged and would love to hear what's on your mind. So feel free to take advantage of that. I also know that this next question is a passion, an item that's passionate for a lot of people. So if you want to weigh in on this as well, too. Marques, you had talked about your roots in college football. I know college football is an obsession for a lot of people. It's something that a lot of individuals really get emotionally invested in. So what I'd kind of like to talk to you about is this over the last couple of years, this new trend toward NIL, name, image, likeness, college athletics, just the money that's involved, the transfer portal. It just seems like there's just a lot of stuff going on in that regard compared to what college athletes used to be. So, Marcus, and again, for those of you that are watching, if you want to chime in on this as well, too, let us know. But with all the stuff that's going on with the NIL, the money, the transfer portal, just all that stuff in the college football ranks, do you believe that we're raising Christian athletes today or entitled, money driven celebrities?
You know what, my friend? That's a really good question. I feel what's happening is, unfortunately, we are valuing money over, things in life like, loyalty and honor. And again, I'm not saying that athletes shouldn't get paid. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that athletes need to understand that in life, especially when you're going through challenges, life's not going to give you what you want when you want it. Now, again, do athletes have a position to want to go somewhere else and they can get money? Absolutely, go ahead, do what you feel is best for you. But I also tell athletes, everything that glitters is not gold, right? I tell people that all the time, right? So again, if you're looking to go that road, please do your due diligence. Please look at, be more, look at the evaluation. Please do what you know you need to do to make sure, right, Paul, you're making the best decision possible for you and your family. Don't do anything quickly. Don't be hasty. Be sure that you are doing this for your benefit, for the short term, the medium term, and the long term. That's all I tell athletes to do. If you're somewhere it's not working out, you can get a better deal, you think it's better for you for the short term, even the long term, then I say it makes sense. But again, evaluation, proper analyzation of situations, Paul, is key. Because the last thing you want to do is take money from something, go somewhere, it doesn't work out. Then from there, you got paid some, which is great. But then from there, the money you have, you're not prepared to handle it. Like I said, Paul, that's how I went bankrupt in 2012, 2013. Even though I was an NFL athlete, right, Paul? Made really, really good money. I was not prepared. My ego was not prepared to handle so much money, so much fame, so much notoriety, so many temptations. It just was overload for me. It was overload. And I ended up crashing and burning. And I was 30 years old. And I still wasn't ready for it because I had never been prepped to handle that type of windfall. Today, Paul, I'm prepped. So as the company grows and we help more people and we make more of an impact, well, I'm prepped for that. So now I don't have to worry about that because I've gone through the fire and I know how to make adjustments. I know how to be and handle things as they come my way. So again, do I feel we're making that a idolization of money? Is here nor there. I think the key is every athlete has to really analyze, scrutinize, and make a determination if going for an NIL deal or the case may be is best for them and their family. And again, don't make a quick decision. This is your life. Please take it seriously.
Yeah, and I want to ask a follow up question to that. I do see that David weighed in with a comment. So, David, thank you. I'll share that with Marcus here in a second. But fortuitously enough, I don't know if you've seen this, but just last night I watched that multi part documentary about Allen Iverson on Amazon Prime. And that was very enlightening. And one of the things that Allen talked about specifically was, he was the number one draft pick out of Georgetown, drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers. His draft class was absolutely stocked. And one of the things that he had said was kind of like what you've been echoing as well too. I mean, up until that point, he was struggling to get by. Up until that point, his mom, who was a single mom, was basically living in poverty, doing multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. And overnight, the guy's a gazillionaire basically compared to where he was. And he said he. I mean, it's staggering. Maybe you've experienced this with some of these other athletes, but from a guy that's on the outside, for me, it was staggering. He said he had over 56 people on his payroll, family, friends, childhood buddies. He felt the need to take care of everybody. And over time, he lost just about all that money that he made. And I guess my follow up question is, Allen Iverson was 21 when he made all this money, and it was tough for him. With this NIL, we're talking about kids that are 18, kids that are they're even younger. They're even more impressionable. They're even more naive. How do we disciple young competitors, especially when it comes to making good decisions, when it comes to keeping Christ at the center? How do we disciple these young competitors in this new era of NIL and money all over the place?
Oh, you gotta have former warriors like myself, or guys like Allen Iverson in basketball, or guys, like my buddy, who played for the Boston Red Sox. I can't say slipping me my name, but I mean his name is slipping my mind. But he was a great baseball player that went through the hardships and the hard times, and now he's doing better. These young warriors need to hear from older warriors that have been through the fire, right? That's what I believe, Paul. It's all about discipleship. It's all about stewardship, and it's all about, associations. You need to surround these young, phenomenal, impressionable, gifted athletes with someone that can mentor them, that has the experience, the wisdom, and has gone through life challenges. You need to have them be there for these young people to help them make the best decisions possible. Be aware of like taxes. Like I didn't really know about taxes, or how to put your money to work for you, or how to save this money. Just don't go out and buy a bunch of clothes. Like I saw this one college athlete who had like an NIL deal. He put a video that he had like, I think it's like 10 grand in his hand, like all these $100 bills. Yeah, he said I think it's a backup quarterback. I just saw 10 grand in cash in his hand. Yeah, I'm like, man, bruh, you got 10 grand. Yes, that's awesome. You don't need to do a video, put it on social, flashing what you have, and making yourself a target for people who might want to try to come after you for like business deals that they know are going to work out, that might want your money. Again, temptation, right? Again, I'm not saying all people do this, but sometimes women, for young male athletes, they see the money, they want it. So why would you make yourself a target? Don't do that. Be humble, show gratitude, show appreciation. And I feel these young warriors, right, Paul, need crafty, older, veteran warriors that have gone through the fire to show them the way.
Yeah, and I know the guy, David, I'm going to get to your comment here in just 1 second. I know this guy's been in the news ever since he was drafted in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns, but Shedeur Sanders. And one of the things, again, I don't know him. I don't want to be judgmental. If you're to believe Deion, his father, Deion Sanders, is a man of Christ. I know he talks about God a lot. But boy, it would just be so nice when Shedeur throws a touchdown or does a nice play, rather than doing his thing with his watch, like, look what I have, and look at, I remember on draft night, we were texting a lot, you and me, during draft night. And, he's got legendary all over the place. And it's like, boy, maybe rather than doing this and showing us your $30,000 watch, maybe you give glory to God after a touchdown. Maybe a sign of the cross. Maybe your post-game speech is just, I just want to thank God for the opportunity. Again, I don't want to be judgmental, but I think rather than flashing these $10,000 bills like this gentleman you're talking about, why don't we live a little bit more humbly? Why don't we give a little bit more credit to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Because without him, without the talents, without the abilities, without the skill set, without the opportunity, none of this stuff would be possible for anybody. And that is a problem that is pretty prevalent. I'd love for you to weigh in on this. This comes from David. I would probably agree with what David says here. So David says this: if these kids in high school and college can benefit from NIL, how can they use it for good? And what have you seen firsthand? So maybe weighing on that, like, what have you seen? Are people coming alongside these kids? Are they getting some kind of education? And then David finishes with this, and this is part of what I think I would agree with. I struggle seeing how this will benefit them to think less about themselves and money. Love to get your thoughts on that, Marcus.
So I have seen where some guys have got NIL and they put it away in investments, they put it away for future, usage. I have seen, players that have done that in high school and college. Not a lot, but I have. So there is some good here. And again, what we have to do, we've got to get these young people thinking about the future, right? What did we say earlier, right, Paul? Pain is not permanent, but neither is joy. Neither is fulfillment. That high of getting that NIL deal, it doesn't last forever. The money doesn't last forever. Ask, unfortunately, Allen Iverson, like you said, 56 people on your payroll. 56. You're not a company like a Mass Mutual or a large organization where you're making money all the time. You're paying people, you have money coming in like that. As an athlete, your money comes in windfalls. And again, if you have that many people on your payroll that you're paying every week or every 2 weeks all the time, and your money is not coming in consistently at a high level, well, at some point, it's going to run out. It's gonna run out. So what we need to do, right, Paul, Dave, get these young men, these young athletes thinking about the future with the money, right? How do you save? How do you prepare for taxes? How do you prepare to buy a house, at the right time? How do you prepare to take care of your family once you have one at the right time? And I tell you all the time, right, Paul? It is so easy to spend money. It is so hard to make it. Credit cards, bank cards, Amazon. Paul, I may be the only person on earth without an Amazon account. I don't have one. I don't have one. I don't want to be able to go to my phone, press a button, and get something delivered to me right away. If I need it, clothes, food, shoot, whatever, I gotta get my big 6'6", 275 pounds or 80-pound butt out of my bed, into my car to go and get it. Which means when I go to get it, that I really want it. I know so many people that have Amazon accounts that see something, they order it, it gets to their house like, did I order that? Why did I do that? I didn't want that. Oh, because it's immediate gratification. Paul, I do the same thing with movies, right? I have a Netflix, I'll buy some movies sometimes, but Paul, that's got to keep that minor. I watch it. That's my one little thing, right, Paul? I buy movies online, like through Netflix, whatever. That's my only little thing I do. But Paul, Amazon, other things like accounts like that, because like this go impress, right, Paul? Don't have it. Because I really want to know and make sure if I buy it, that I want it and I need it. If we can train these young men to think like that, right, Paul? It'll be a much better society.
Yeah, amen. I know we're getting ready, maybe like the 3 minute warning here, but yeah, just kind of like what you said too, and you've emphasized this a couple of times. You are the product of who you hang around with. And I think all of you watching this today, if we were to do a little exercise, if you were to take like a little yellow pad or something and you were to write down the 5 people you spend most time with, I think Marcus and I could tell you pretty quickly the kind of person that you are, how successful you are or not. Are these people encouraging you? Are these people building you up? Are you learning from these people? Like it says in Proverbs, iron sharpening iron. Or like Allen Iverson, you got 60 people on your payroll. Not to say that all his friends and family were bad. I'm not saying that. It seemed like he had a couple of really good people in his life, but people that are just hanging around you because you're a meal ticket. People that are just saying whatever you want to hear because they don't want to upset you and risk not getting money from you. So I think that's really important. Marcus, we got another question that comes in from Michael. Michael says this: as an NFL junkie, I'm wondering how your father inspired you and your brother when it comes to life and football. And your brother, again, you had a good career too, but your brother in some circles is considered the single greatest offensive lineman that ever played. So, with your father as an influence, with your brother as an influence, how did they shape your career, and to some degree, how did they shape your life?
My father played football at Howard University as a Bison. He was a D tackle. My brother is 6.5 years older than I am. I was all about learning and being guided by them. And they taught me how to have a balanced life with sports and my personal life. Remember, Paul, don't get too high, don't get too low. I had some low days in football, some highs, but I was very good at balancing for the most part of my career. Because my father and my brother were huge in me staying balanced and keeping myself even keel throughout my entire sports life. So it was so big. And our dad always told us it was going to be education over sports, respect women, respect ourselves. 3 keys we always learn. So with the education over sports perspective, right, Mike? Right, Paul? That's where we learn it's about what's in here, our brain, not here, the body. The body will break down a lot faster than this will. So this is your key for long-term success. Having that approach, right, Paul, it kept us grounded, it kept us humble, and it kept us hungry, which is why we both did so well with the sport.
Yeah, and you had shared this anecdotally. I mean, you, as a member of the C-Suite for Christ Speaker Bureau, you're arguably our most popular speaker. You've spoken at the majority of our for the various markets. I know you got a couple more that are coming up. When you spoke for the C-Suite for Christ home office, maybe 2 years or so ago,
Mhm.
you gave a picture of you, your brother, and your father. And I don't want to get the details wrong, but when you talked about your brother, I think when you said in eighth grade, exactly how tall and how big was he? I mean, it floored me when he was like in eighth grade. The kid was a giant, was he not?
6'9", 375 pounds in the 8th grade.
6'9", 375 in the eighth grade. I mean, it's hard to believe they even let him play youth football. I mean,
We
I'd be
did.
afraid he'd kill a kid.
We played. He played 7th grade, 8th grade. Again, talk about coaching and stewardship. Coach Dave Moeller coached Jonathan from 7th grade through 12th grade. So Jonathan knew the position of football, O-line, techniques, tendencies, everything. For 6 years in a row, had the same coach, the same foundation, the same knowledge. And that's why Jonathan was so amazing. Biggest all outdoors, great footwork, but for 6 solid years, he got the technique from the age of 12 to 18 from someone that was a professional that knew it like the back of his hand. And Jonathan developed it. He took that mentality, he took the footwork, he took the dedication and discipline. He became who he was.
Yeah, God just gives all of us these unique talents and abilities. And again, I think when a kid is in eighth grade and he's 6'9", 375, I think we have an idea of the kind of career path somebody of that size is going to be going down. Marcus, as we get ready to wrap up, knowing that tomorrow is Thanksgiving, what is Marcus Ogden thankful for this year?
I'm thankful for my family and great friends. Because, Paul, that's truly what matters most. Great family, great friends, great relationships. That's where it's at. Because without that, right, Paul, we are in isolation, we are in darkness, and we are in despair. And that's when the devil can get his hands on us because we're the most susceptible at that time. So I'm grateful for God putting people in my life like yourself, my clients, my good friends, my family, because that's huge in my life.
Yeah, amen. I would echo that. For me personally, in addition to being thankful for you, Marcus, and the friendship that we have, obviously, I'll say the same thing what you said about family. Boy, just thankful for the gift of Jesus Christ for dying on that cross for us, because that's something that'll never be taken away from us, regardless of how tough life is, regardless if we can't make ends meet, regardless if our body starts to break down, regardless if the world turns on us. As long as we've accepted Jesus Christ as our personal Lord and Savior, we've got our ticket to eternity punched. Nothing can ever take that away. And this year, I'm going to live in that. I'm going to abide in that. And it makes all the difference for me from an outlook perspective. Again, for those of you joining us today, it was a blessing to have you on today's edition of Bold for Him Live. Again, please Mark your calendars every Wednesday at noon Central. We're always going to have a powerful, entertaining guest, just like Marcus was. We've had Kevin Sorbo previously. We've had some other movers and shakers in the Christian world. So be sure to mark your calendars to be here. And also, just so you never miss an episode, because life gets busy. I get it. We kind of forget. If you subscribe to the C-Suite for Christ YouTube channel, you're going to get alerts, you're going to get reminders, so you'll never, ever miss a single episode. On behalf of Marques Ogden, on behalf of all of us here at C-Suite for Christ, thanks for joining us. God's blessings to you and your family for a truly happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you back here next week.